Hey guys, Spirit here to do an album review. Today I'm here to tell you all about the debut record from Workshed entitled Workshed, out September 13 on Rise Above Records. This album has 9 tracks, 45 minutes in length, and this project, this band, is made up of former Cathedral members Adam Lehan and Mark Warden. So right away that should give you a little bit of an inclination to what this record is going to sound like, to what it's going to feel like. If I have to describe the sound, the emotional, the lyrical content of this record, if there's one word to describe everything, all the components of this album, it's raw. This is a very raw record from beginning to end. All the components, it just feels alive. It just feels rough around the edges. I would say that this is not a pure and simple Doom record from a traditional perspective. There's a lot more to it. Sure, perhaps Doom is the key element that holds this whole record together from the first to the last track, but there's other influences at play, there's other elements at play that really create a more diverse sound that really allows the album to go into different directions, not just your average or traditional Doom sounding record. A lot more meat on the bone as far as this record is concerned. There are 3 things that you have to address when looking at this debut record. You have to look at the structure, you have to look at the sound, and you have to look at the vocals. From a structural perspective, this album is an emotional, distressing album. The tracks give you peaks and valleys throughout. One minute you feel like you're down in the dumps, the next minute you feel like you want to punch mountains. That's the kind of dynamic energy, the kind of emotional distress that you're going to get from this record. Peaks and valleys from track to track, and within certain tracks you also have that same condiment. You have those same peaks and valleys built in the structure of individual songs, but when you look at the overall feel of the record, it's just pulling you on crazy directions and crazy mood swings, really highs that are really high and lows that are extremely low. That is the dynamic of the structure of this album from the beginning all the way to the end. Musically, I already touched a little bit on it. This record has a lot of Doom elements while not being what I would consider a traditional Doom record. Other influences are at play, like rock, sludge, hardcore. There's just a lot of other moving pieces that allow the record to have a lot of life, to have a life of its own, if you will, and to really pull you in different emotional trances. So depending on the track, depending on the moment of certain tracks, you really feel like you're going through different kinds of emotions. And that is only able to come across to you if you're a little bit pulling away from that traditional Doom sound and adding other elements to your music. Otherwise, it would become very linear in structure, and it would also become linear in sound, and it would become a little bit more predictable. This record, if there's one thing that this record is not, is predictable. It really allows you to feel engaged with every single track at every single turn. And to me, that is based on using that Doom metal as the bass line, as the spinal cord, if you will, but then adding other influences and other elements to the sound that really allow the tracks to pull you in different directions, that really allow the tracks to move in different ways. That to me is the core of the sound of this record. Vocally, I felt that this album was so rough. It had rawness to it. It has an unpolished sound to the vocals that fits this record to perfection. The sound that you get musically, it's matched by that rawness, that unpolished feel that you're going to get from the vocals. When you combine the two, you have a studio record that sounds almost like a jam or like a live session. It sounds almost more like a live record than it does a studio record. I really like that approach. I like that on this style of sound because it works really well. It makes the album feel more alive. It allows you to connect better with the emotions that the music is giving you. And it just gives you the sense that you're there with them when they were recording. It gives you this sense of being in their presence when the music was being played, and it gives you that essence that you get from a live performance. So all of those elements are together in this record. Now, as far as tracks are concerned, I picked 3 tracks that I really liked, that had something that I somehow connected to it, and I'm going to start with Nowhere to Go. I like this song. It has a great guitar riff. It has a great rock, dirty, heavy riff. It's one of those that really has a moving forward aspect, that heaviness and that dirty riff, that dirty rock riff that it has at the beginning, it stays true throughout the track. It really carries the track from the beginning to end, and it never goes away. It's always there. It's even present during the solo. I really like the solo. It's really melodic. But the fact that they kept that guitar riff there, they never took it away, they kept it there, they added the solo on top of it, so the two are playing in unison. It allows the song to always feel like it's continuing. It allows the solo to perhaps feel like it's breaking light into darkness without ever really doing that, because the song still has that heaviness, that rawness to it from that guitar riff that's still creating that bass line all the way through. I really like that. The vocals also match that same old school rock and roll feel that this track has all the way through. They just match it to perfection. It's just a song that's really well constructed from beginning to end and really plays itself all the way through in one concise element. This song is like a brick. It just really feels like a brick, and not even the solo can break that apart. Really well put together track. Next one is The City Has Fallen. This track has a bit faster tempo when it opens up. It has a different vibe. It still has some doom elements, but overall it's a song that offers a much different vibe to it. The song, as it moves in from verses to chorus, there is some gains and losses in momentum. The song in the chorus seems to lose a little bit of its tempo, a little bit of its heaviness, and becomes more methodic. This is definitely a song that has that characteristic of verses and chorus, the two of them being very separate sound-wise and also mood-wise, feel-wise. It's a song that really creates a battle between those two. One of more heavy and pushing forward, the other one more methodic of dragging down. So I really like the dynamic that this song has to offer between those two elements of the track, built in within the track. At the midway point, the guitar riff becomes really dark and doomy. It's the part of the song that perhaps feels more like a doom track. The song just slows down. It just feels extremely slow, heavy, methodic, and dark and ominous. Then around the corner, it eventually changes back into the same dynamic that it had offered before, of that more faster tempo in the verses and the more methodic approach in the chorus. So I really like the structure of this song, and I like that caveat that they threw in there, that middle of the track bridge that really gave a doom feel to the overall sound of the track. So that was like a little bit of a wrench that they threw in there into a song that had a very popular and common structure within songs. So that wrench there just gave something else to the listener. It just threw something into the mix, and I really enjoyed that. Last but not least, it doesn't have to be that way. This is the closing track of the album. It's heavy. It's a heavy track, and it moves at a nice pace. It's a song that just really comes at you. The song that always has a forward motion to it. It never feels like it's slowing down. Even when it changes from verses to chorus, is a song that really doesn't offer you a break. It doesn't feel like there's a battle between those two portions of the song. It always feels like it's moving towards the end of the track, and it's moving in one single direction at one single pace. So I really like that. The guitar solo slows down a track a little bit, but it's only temporary. It really doesn't slow it enough. It just kind of pumps the brakes slightly, but then it allows the song to regain its momentum, and then it quickly comes back to that heavy riff that just feels like a machine mowing down, just destroying everything in its path in a very robust kind of way. The song, as it goes in towards the end of it, it just kind of dims out and it fades out into oblivion. Perfect way to close off the album. An album that had this kind of feel, this kind of mood, this kind of structure. This is the perfect closing track because it kind of allows the record to just fade into oblivion. I really like that ending. I really like the way they structure the song, how they deliver the song, and then how they closed off the album with it. Really enjoyable. Alright guys, this is it. This is Workshed with their debut record, Workshed. Let me know your thoughts on the band. Use the comment section below. Let me know what you're thinking. I'll be reading those comments and getting back to you as always. See ya.